Namaskaram, everybody. Hello. I hope you're doing well. Today, I wanted to talk about this concept of feeding and nourishing the senses. Now, whether we know it or not, we're constantly bombarding our senses and feeding our senses, taking in, perceiving through the senses. And whether it's through sight, smell, taste, hearing, and all of this input has implications and impact on our consciousness, on our mind, on our emotions, and our state of being. So, it's very important, therefore, that we feed our senses and nourish our senses properly with auspicious things, with beautiful things, with good, righteous things, especially these days because of the age, the time, and the world that we live in, especially, is so debauched and crazy and ungodly and straight up demonic. In the music, in the advertisements that we see everywhere, the chemicals in our food, the chemicals in our clothes, and the soaps that we wash our bodies with, and all of these things. There, so many of our senses are just overwhelmed with the equivalent of crap food, you know? Because if you think about it, even if you eat well and you're giving your physical body good, clean food, what you're watching, are you nourishing the sight and the eyes with that which is auspicious and sweet and good and wholesome? Or are you watching things like horror movies, or politics and news and porn, and like you're just bombarding the sight with all of this very low quality, like convenience fast food kind of stuff? Like, yeah, you get some stimulation, you get fed a little bit, maybe it kind of fills the hole for a little while, but is it deeply nourishing and actually satisfying? The music that you're listening to, is there curse words in it? Is it just the same boring old beats over and over? What are they singing about? Versus, listening to like classical music, or mantras, or church hymns, or Gregorian chants, or, there's so many auspicious things and healing things that you can listen to and feed the ears and feed the hearing with wholesome, good, auspicious things. But again, we're listening to so much crap music, listening to the news, listening to maybe arguments going around us, or the conversations about stupid things, instead of putting our ears on listening to mantra and the names of God, or beautiful, wholesome music that feeds the soul and the spirit. So, yeah, I just wanted to ask you guys that. That's something to be aware of, and that's something that I think about often because I feel hungry. I feel like my senses get so hungry for that which is nourishing. Like, my eyes are so hungry to see beautiful things, like beautiful architecture, beautiful art, beautiful temples, and all of that. And I feel like so empty because I look around and it's like, in America, the architecture is so boring and it's so lifeless and gray and cold and 90-degree angles and the same thing over and over. So I have to remind myself to go look at some art books, or look at some, art pages on Facebook or YouTube, to go watch some documentaries so I can feast my eyes on things that are visually stunning and majestic and opulent and gorgeous, and giving my eyes something good to look at, instead of just like the boring architecture around, and nobody really wears like dresses very nice. I won't say nobody, but so few people dress nicely in the United States. Again, most people are very slovenly and sloppy and take very, very little care in their appearance these days. So the people, the buildings, the surroundings aren't particularly beautiful. So I have to seek that out and find that. Same way with music. I can't stand mainstream music and what they sing about, the content they sing about, how they sing it, their voices aren't particularly good. None of these singers, the Beyonce or, well, she's okay, and Taylor Swift, not particularly talented, but I mean, it's all the same to me. So I have to go again, think, what do my ears need? What does my hearing need? Some beautiful opera or some beautiful classical music or a song with some deep actual meaning instead of, whatever nonsense they're singing about these days, whatever demonic Illuminati nonsense, like little Nas X and their little like Satan demon stunts and all of that tomfoolery. So yeah, I'm starting to ramble here, but I just thought, think about that. How are you feeding your senses? What are you feeding them with? And can you do it in a godly and a righteous manner? And I'll finish on this note because this is the real spiritual aspect of it, and the Krishna consciousness comes in. Because you think about, how can you nourish your senses through the deity that you worship itself? So for me, it's Krishna. So I think about, there's this concept in practicing Krishna consciousness, to always be conscious of Krishna, is to constantly engage all of the senses in Krishna. So my speech, I can sing about Krishna, I can talk about Krishna, I can have conversations about Krishna and lecture, I can chant and all his glories and all of these things, and engage my speech in the service of Krishna. My eyes, I can go to his temple and I can look at all of the sculptures and the art, and I can feast my eyes on the deity and get darshan, and feed my sight with the image of the deity and the temple. My ears can be engaged in listening to the stories of Krishna, listening to, chanting of his name, or the prayers or the shlokas or what have you, Vishnu Sahasranam. So or listening to lectures, so I'm engaging my ears in the service of Krishna. My body, feeling, I can bow my body in prostrations to the deity. I can dance and move my body in different ways to worship and celebrate Krishna. What else? Smell. I can offer incense to Krishna and smell that, take that as the prasadam, the mercy. That's anything that's been offered to Krishna is considered like mercy when you take it. So if you offer that incense, engaging your nose and smelling Krishna's incense, or even think about what he must smell like with all his, flower garlands and the sandal paste around him, and imagine, the sweet perfume that he must smell like. So yeah, think about in your immediate surroundings, how can you properly nourish and feed the senses? And then if you're more of the spiritual people, if you're engaged in Krishna consciousness, or you worship a deity or something, even if you're a Christian and you're a Jesus person, how can you engage your senses in the service of Krishna? How can you engage your senses in the service of Christ? Ask yourself those questions. Yes, it will enrich your life, and just like you'll see positive changes, maybe it'll suck in the beginning, like if you're unhealthy and you eat crap food, and then you're like, I'm going to go on a diet and I'm going to eat good wholesome food and I'm going to exercise, and it might suck a little bit in the beginning, but then after a while you feel really good, and then you're like, wow, why didn't I do this before? Like, my life has been so improved and enriched through doing this. So I think in the same way, if you begin to properly nourish the senses, and then again, if you take it to the spiritual level too, with your deity, how to engage in service, the senses in the service of your deity, that will have a beautiful, enriching impact on your life. I think you should give it a try. Okay? Okay, bye. I'll see you later. Hare Krishna.